Hello, everyone. I'm Adam Schwend, and I am joined here, as always, with our now mobile state representative, Suzanne Weber.
Oh yeah.
Suzanne, you have had,
I walked over to the counter to get, so that I could be on this Zoom meeting.
yeah,
It's quite a thrill.
you have had quite an adventurous couple of months. We try to do this every few weeks, but you've been rather laid up. So, what happened for those folks who haven't been paying attention?
Well, we had quite a rainstorm, and I walked my dog at about 8:30, 9 o'clock every night. And I went to walk the dog, and I went down the back steps off the porch, and from the third step down, it was just slick, and I slipped, and I did a little twist in the air, came down on the sidewalk and the yard, and I knew I had done something. I thought, I've got to get in the house. I've got to get some help. But when I stood up, I fell down. So I knew I had done a little bit more than what I thought I had originally done.
Oh, gosh.
And I ended up spending a couple days in the hospital so that I could, get this all under control. And then I went to my daughter's house in Albany because she has basically one level. I didn't have to worry about stairs because in my house, if I want to wash clothes, I have to go to the basement. If I want to go to bed, I have to go upstairs. And so it just was easier. And I could still have all of my meetings virtually. And I was able to attend the special session.
Yes, you were.
I felt it was very important that I be there because there were some really important issues that were on the table. There weren't a great number of bills, but there were 4 bills that were extremely important. And when the governor calls a special session, it happens. So,
right. So let's talk a little bit. That was a good segue. You were able to be there. You supported most of the bills, particularly one that gave quite a bit of additional funding for wildfire relief, for drought relief, and for housing. So talk about that bill a little bit. Tell us how important it was, what was in it. You don't have to go through all of it, just the little things.
There were a lot of things in that bill that were really important. Things for the southern part of the state, especially with the challenges that they have in the southern part of the state concerning the illegal marijuana grows. There's money in that bill to provide additional rent and landlord support, which is really important because landlords especially have really been hurting through all of this. There was money for Afghan refugees. And I will tell you that I have had a lot of people reach out to me and ask me how they can help the Afghan refugees also. So those folks were their needs were being addressed. There's a lot of issues with water in our state. Even though we in this area don't seem to have, our drought seems to be over with. A lot of places still have those conditions that need to be dealt with. I mean, we can have a flood at any time, but lots of places in the state don't have that luxury for water. And oh my gosh, I have spent so much time reading. What else? Give me another clue.
One thing I just want to touch on.
What did I forget? I just forgot something.
Well, the one I want to touch on a little bit is I think a lot of people in our side of the state don't think a lot about illegal marijuana grows. In our place, you can go down to the local dispensary and, it's like going to a 7-Eleven, right?
Yes.
And nobody sees the big deal there, and because it's just a legal product. Unfortunately, down in the southern part of our state, where we have quite a bit of different climate, quite a bit of different land available, different soils available. That's where they grow a lot of this marijuana that's used. But I think what they're really struggling with is that they have so many illegal grows
Well,
that
yeah,
are being
and
dealt with
with the
cartels. Yeah.
illegal, I'm sorry I didn't mean to
Oh, no, go
interrupt
ahead,
you, but
please.
with the illegal grows come a lot of other additional problems, because all of these illegal grows also need people to work there and to work the crop that they're growing. And since this is not legal, they just can't advertise and have people come and sign up and be proud of where they work. Instead, people are indentured to this crop. And as a result, there's a lot of human trafficking. There's a lot of people who are treated unfairly. And I'm talking about food security. They're not being well fed. They're working long hours. And then there's also a lot of murder. People are found in gangland style assassinations. And then there is a lot of the people who have lived there for a long time being threatened to, like the gentleman, there was one gentleman who testified in the hearings that said that, he needed this stream for his crops. And all of a sudden there was no water. So it was just like an Old West story. So he followed the stream and ran into a man with a great big gun. And he said, well, what happened to the water? He said, you don't need to know, turn around and go back.
Wow.
And that's what happens. And we know that there have been illegal grows in the southern part of the state for a long time, because drug and narcotics people would come in with their special planes and they would see something of a different color and they would know that that was a marijuana grow. But now these are happening right down the street from where our organic farms are. Somebody comes in, buys the property, puts up a hoop house. You don't know what's in that hoop house. It's probably not organic lettuce or carrots. It's something else.
Yeah, it's a type of lettuce, all right, but not the type that you want to put on your salad. One of the articles I read, I don't remember if it was in the Oregonian or not, but it was a gentleman from Argentina had come up, was ready to work. He was here on a tourist visa, so wasn't here. He was here legally, but not really legally. But he'd gotten a job in one of these grow places and worked in really terrible conditions, burning hot sun for a month, and showed up, get paid. The owner just looked at him, got in his truck, drove away. And that's the sort of stuff that I think that you guys are trying to address in that bill and provide. Really what that was to provide funding for law enforcement, because there's so many illegal grows, especially in the southern part of the state, that the police just can't keep up.
And the water masters, we also have a whole structure that monitors, the water usage. We don't have enough water masters to take care of that property down there either. And then the water masters cannot go into someplace without protection.
Exactly. That's what I was going to say, is that you can be a water master all day long, but I can tell you our water master here is not going to want to get in her car and drive into some place and have a bunch of AK-47s pointed at her as she's trying to figure out what's going on.
And the other thing is, as a result of this, our public officials are also being threatened. The representative from that particular area has had several death threats against her because of trying to call attention to the problems that are happening there and the way people are being treated.
Yes, and she's a strong lady. I wouldn't want to get on her bad side, so she's not going to let this sway her for sure. So I'm glad you guys were able to address that. But there was one bill you opposed, And so let's talk about that. And this was to extend the eviction moratorium for those folks who have applied for assistance. And you opposed that bill.
Yes,
Let's
I
hear.
did. That was the only bill that I opposed. And when I addressed the legislature, I said, I really feel that the people of Oregon need an apology. They need an apology for the way the agency has handled the distribution of this money, the vetting of these applications. They have failed the people of Oregon by promising them this money and then not delivering it in a timely manner. And then wanting to continue in on this to cover up their failure.
Mm-hmm.
Because that's what I see it as. I think that the state of Oregon has really failed its people. And that's why I could not support it going on. And the other thing is I looked into how the moratoriums, the eviction moratoriums were being addressed in other states. And other states close to us, especially, that had discontinued the eviction moratorium seemed to be thriving. And I felt that we weren't helping our people. Not only had we abused them in the process, but we were not helping them in the end. And so I felt that the eviction moratorium needed to come to an end.
It's been 2 years. I mean, we're pushing 2 years, and you know, when the eviction moratorium came up, it was difficult to swallow, but I think a lot of us understood. However, the
the people
wasn't
that
getting-
didn't really understand were the landlords,
Yeah.
because especially landlords with 1 and 2 units that they were renting out, that they were using for retirement income.
right.
And I had people call me and say, you know, I'm out $15,000-$16,000. How am I going to make that up? How am I going to pay my bills?
You know, I think about my stepmother is oh, hi, Martin.
Excuse me, the dog and the doorbell. I'm going to go get the dog. I'll be right
Go
back.
right ahead. I'll just tell my story. My stepmother owns one house. She actually inherited it from her grandmother. She uses it as a rental. She's not wealthy. She is. She relies on those funds coming in. She relies on those funds coming in to pay her bills. And fortunately, we're very fortunate that she was able to still receive rent. The tenants kept paying, God bless them, even during COVID, even during the moratorium. So we were very, very fortunate. But in Tillamook County, in Clatsop County, and in Western Washington County, we don't have those big landlords. We don't have those giant corporate landlords. The vast majority of the landlords in the area are 1, 2, 3, 4 units being rented out to tenants, and it's really difficult on them, especially not only when you're taking their money away, but when they're being told over and over and over that they are being that they are greedy and they're taking advantage of people, when in reality they're not much farther from the street than the person that they're housing. So yeah, that is the difficulty that we had with the eviction moratorium, and to have this go on for years and years and years. Well, many landlords are being told over and over and over again that their money is on the way, and it's been 30, 60, 90, 120 days or more, and they still haven't gotten that money. You know, when we had that situation, welcome back, Representative.
Thank you.
when we had that representative with the employment department, when unemployment benefits were
Yes,
going, and and our offices were forced to do the unemployment department's job, the head of the head of the employment department got fired, and rightfully so. So I think in our conversations, Representative, one of the frustrations that you had and why you said on the floor you couldn't support this bill is that the director of Oregon Housing Community Service should be fired. And until that happens, you can't give them any more support.
right. I can't. I cannot.
When you have
Hey,
a,
can I tell you something fun?
please do, please
Okay,
do. Of
so the doorbell rang, and of course, Martin erupted.
course.
David Madison, who was our city planner.
Oh, yes,
Yes, do you remember David?
I do.
He's written a book called About the Hocourt and Troll.
That is awesome.
And so he brought me a copy of the book. I have, I'm tickled.
So, for those folks who aren't Tillamook centered, the Hocourton Trail and the Hocourton Slough is right in downtown Tillamook. As you
Yes,
go up the hill, going into the downtown core, that is the Hocourton. So, I will have to get a
yes.
copy of that for my kids.
And there's a walkway, a trail that goes all the way over to Goodspeed Park. That's a really nice, kids can ride their bicycles on it, people can walk on it.
It's
And
lovely.
so David had always envisioned a troll living in that same area. And so he's written this delightful book.
Well, you hear that, folks. This is you probably won't see this before Christmas, but get out Hokey the Hocourton Troll. I don't
Yes,
know where you can find it, but I bet if you Google it, you'll be able to find it.
you can find it at the Blue Heron.
Blue Heron in Tillamook.
Yes.
Yep.
And there's one other place too. And if you're up north in Rockaway, you can get it at Flamingo Gyms.
Excellent. Well, I bet if you Google it, you'll find other ways to get it as well. And
Oh,
if
yes.
if you want a copy and you can't find it, send us an email. We'll hook you
Oh,
up. We'll make sure
right.
you.
We'll get you one.
So, so yes, that was the reason. That was a good. That was a good little break from a really quite frustrating topic of dealing with Oregon Housing Community Service. So,
Well,
so yeah.
then, I hate to go from the good, the bad, the good, the bad, but we're also facing something that I think is the canary in the coal mine in this area, and that is we have two housing opportunities for the elderly, the Kilchis House and the Nehalem Bay House, that are having to close.
Yes.
And there is not enough Medicare and Medicaid money to be able to support them. Part of the reason is the like I said, the amount of money it takes to support them, but there's no one to work.
Mhm.
And then in order to get people to work, they needed to pay bonuses. And then in order to have the nursing capacity, there were contract employees that needed to be brought in because we didn't have the local people who were able to work. And so COVID has taken it out of those two. And by the end of February, it can no longer sustain itself. And it's really upsetting and it's really sad because we've got 26% of our population up and down the coast that is retired.
Mm-hmm.
And there's the possibility that not everyone can afford private care. And because private care is probably twice as much as what our Medicaid and Medicare can provide, but we don't have those facilities.
Mm-hmm.
And in closing those two facilities, we're going to have over 50 people that are going to have to be relocated. And the other challenging thing is that we also have employees that are going to, need to have jobs too. And it's my hope that the private care centers will be able to absorb these employees. I hope that there is work there for them. I just think that at this particular time of the year, it is extremely sad. And by law, they had to give 60 days notice as to when this was going to happen. And that is why we've heard about it now. If we'd have heard about it sooner, we probably still wouldn't have been able to do that much about it. At this point in time, we've had the Coastal Caucus members for this area have had meetings with CARE. CARE administers these two homes. And Peter Starkey is the chief CARE administrator. And this has been very, very hard for him to have to deal with.
Yeah, it doesn't surprise me. Peter is just a wonderful guy.
He's a wonderful, caring person who is very thorough and very capable. And the last time we talked about possibilities, he and I had talked about other ideas that he had to be able to run in conjunction with these facilities, because we also have so many challenges in our area with childcare. And at the time, he was hoping to be able to marry the retired folks that live in Kilchis House and a childcare facility to be able to alleviate some of that stress within the community. But that wasn't feasible at that time, and now it's just too late. We have looked at different ways that those facilities could be used in lieu of housing our senior citizens. And the OHCS has promised to get back to us, because with like everything that is involved with government, there are a lot of rules and laws that apply to how these facilities are used and staffed, and how they can be used now and in the future if they're not used for the intended purposes that they're being used for now. And so those things are being worked through. At this point in time, we don't have a definitive answer on what could possibly happen.
Right. We could be in a situation where another organization comes in and takes over that. I think everybody would love that. I don't know what organization that would be or how that would happen, but
Right.
It's the time
Because
of miracles, so we can all hope for that.
there was the hope that private care providers could come in and just assume the facility and the people, so that the people wouldn't be displaced, and that the employees could continue on. But they don't seem to be interested at this time with the reimbursement rate that is required to sustain these people with food and shelter in that place.
And the reality is just that Medicaid just simply doesn't reimburse at a rate that is feasible for the quality
and
of
it's
care.
not feasible for the time.
Yeah.
Because with inflation and costs rising, we can't operate today on what we took in 2 years ago or 3 years ago.
Yeah, that is it's definitely a terribly sad situation, and this is a Tillamook County issue, but this could very well be a Clatsop County issue. It could very well be a Washington County or a Columbia County issue. It really could be.
That's why I said this is like the canary in the coal mine. If this is happening here, that could be happening throughout the state. It's something that people need to start paying attention to, looking forward to be able to decide what can happen, what will happen to our senior folks. I mean, there was one lady out there that was over 100 years old, and she's going to have to move from what has been her home for some time.
Right.
And that's really hard on people.
And the difficulty is some people said, well, can you do something in the short session. The short session doesn't even start until February. We
And the
wouldn't be
short session is very limited as to what it can do also.
right. So unfortunately, just timing alone would make it so that there's nothing that the legislature itself can do. I think more than anything right now, it's becomes a facilitating thing. What can we do? What can our office do to try to help find these people places to go? What can we
Right.
do? That's where we're at, and it's really heartbreaking. I can tell you, it's not something you want to spend Christmas time doing.
Right. And, we have one facility here that is working very hard to be able to accommodate this, but it's not, they won't have the ability to accommodate 50 people.
Right. Right. I mean, even if they wanted, even if they could take, even with at Medicare and Medicaid reimbursement rates, they just don't have the beds.
Right.
So
They don't.
it's a difficult time, certainly for all. We mentioned the short session, and we should probably talk about that a little bit. We're coming up. Oregon's Constitution was was amended a number of years back, 10 years, I think, 15 years
About
ago.
10 years ago.
It used to be that the legislature only met on odd years, and they met for as long as it took. There were times that the legislature was still in session, pushing in August and September.
Yes.
Then came a constitutional amendment, which made it so the legislature met in odd years for a long session that could last, I believe, 160 days. And then it met in the even years for a short session, usually about 45 days. And the purpose of that short session really was to just do little tweaks, little budget tweaks,
Right.
small bills, things that weren't controversial. No big deal. Unfortunately, that's not how it's turned out. You end up with a lot of controversial bills that get just jammed through. I don't think I'm gonna with the risk of editorializing here. I don't think that's what the people of Oregon wanted. That's not
I don't think so either.
That's
I
not
don't
what
think so
the goal
either.
on this. But it is what it is, and so we do have the short session coming up here. Believe might actually start February 1st.
It starts February 1st. It goes from February 1st until about
March 8th.
I think March 7th, something like that.
I say 7th or 8th. You do have a couple of bills. We're running a little short on time, so let's just talk about one now, and then maybe next time we can talk about the next one, which is a little bit more complex.
Yes.
We talked about this one in the long session, but it is a pretty simple bill because it's an actual study bill about something that's pretty important here at the coast. So go ahead and tell us about that.
It is a study bill for Highway 6. We have had many problems with life and death situations on Highway 6, especially this summer. And it has really brought to the forefront a number of problems that exist. But in order to make a plan to fix those, and a lot of ODOT has made a lot of effort to tweak a lot of the things along the highway. But there are so many other issues like pullouts and places for trucks to chain. Have all those things been taken into consideration? Then you get up to the top and there's the huge landslide, which now has all of the monitors inserted in the soil so that they can see how fast it's moving, so they can know what to predict for what we can expect to have to do to be able to fix that slide area. Then it is a byway for people to get directly to the beach in the summertime. And because of the limited pull-offs and turnouts and passing lanes, people tend to get a little impatient.
Oh.
And they drive erratically. And there are many unfortunate things that happen as a result. And so what we need to do is we need all of that information in one place so that we know what we need to be able to fix that highway. Because everything that is made or used in Tillamook County comes in on that road. That road is our lifeline. And if we don't, we have to know what we need to do to fix it in total, not in pieces.
And I think
we need to know whether or not we can get cell service. And then there are the people that say, we don't need cell service on that road because it just makes people talk on their phones more. It may cause people to talk on their phones more, but it also may save a life, because sometimes it takes as long as 20 minutes for someone to get to the point where they can call 911 and request emergency help because of an accident. And then it takes another 20 to 40 minutes for emergency help to get there. Maybe cell service would be able to save someone's life in that kind of situation. So all of that information has to be put, has to come together so that we can make plans for that highway.
I think one of the things you said when we had one of those unfortunate situations that is all too common, but I think it was really a kind of a catalyst of this movement was when we had some folks pass away up there, and unfortunately it happens a lot, but that particular time really set the community off. And one of the things you said was, this isn't going to be easy. It's not going to be cheap.
Right.
It's most certainly not going to be fast. So this is a first step. We don't know. So this is an opportunity to, as you said, get all the information, figure out what it's going to cost, and then we need to make the decisions based on that in the upcoming year.
Yes, that's exactly what has to happen. And, we also have to look at, the coast has been planning for the big one for a long time. We're going to need a land line that is going to be secure to be able to get supplies and help if that happens. That highway needs to be secure, and we have to know what we need to do to get it to that point.
Yes, and I think the only other option is about 50 miles to the north in Seaside, and then another 30, 40 miles to the south, actually about 50 miles to the south in Lake City. So it's not an easy situation. That highway has to be travelable.
Well, yes, milk and cheese and hay and straw and lumber and logs.
Groceries.
That's what keeps our Fred Meyer and our Safeway stocked in all of our small grocery stores up and down the coast.
Yep. So I know that's going to be a focus of yours. So that is exciting. It'll be really, I can't imagine that bill not passing. It seems to be such a slam dunk. It's an actual study bill. Sometimes people will create study bills, but really it's just a gut and stuff, an opportunity to create a simple bill and then rip out everything that's in there and shove in a bunch of stuff.
Something else. Yes.
Yeah, it's absolutely infuriating. But this is an actual honest to God study bill. So I think that's going to be a real win. I think one of the big challenges you might have is somebody's afraid you're going to gut and stuff it. So you got to make sure people know that's not the plan.
We get two bills that we can propose.
Only two.
And I will talk about the second one at a later date because I know we're running out of time and it hasn't been fully prepared. And so I will speak to that later.
We are still waiting for the legislative concept, the actual text of the bill to come out. So it'll be, we want to make sure it is what it is before we get talking. And it is rather complex. So we want to make sure that maybe we have a little bit more time to talk about it, but we will do that.
We have the ideas, we have the concepts, we take it to them, they write the bills. Then they come back to us and we say, no, that isn't what I said.
And it also,
this is what I said.
The other thing that they do is also say, hey, look, here's some of the unintended consequences based on current law. So we don't want to get too ahead of our skis. So
right.
Not trying to hide anything. It's just the idea is not totally flushed out yet.
Right. And
Uh,
there are also committee bills that will be coming
mhm.
too. And, I'm hoping that we'll have committee bills that will be germane to our conditions. And
Yeah.
uh,
I know it's always all of our hope that we don't have thousands of bills during a short session that was meant to make little tweaks. So
yes,
that it is certainly the hope. Well, I believe that's all we have, but we always end on some good news. And Representative, as I look as we do this right now, it is the 22nd of December. The big fat guy is coming your way, and I don't mean me. So, what have you got going on for the holiday?
tomorrow's my birthday.
It is.
I'm excited about that. But the other thing I'm excited about is just Christmas and being with my kids. I think that, and having the ability to go to church and, be grateful to be able to celebrate with the church family.
Mhm.
It's a wonderful time of year. And I really appreciate being together with all of my family. But what I appreciate is all of the community's work to be able to provide Christmas baskets and boxes for people who are less fortunate. And the Tillamook Ecumenical community here in town is a group of churches that gets together, and they manage the whole basket program. And they do this every year out of the kindness and goodness of their heart. And I really think that they and all of the people up and down the coast who so graciously give of their time, their money, and their effort to be able to provide Christmas for people who are less fortunate, they are the people that need to be celebrated, because they are living the true meaning of Christmas. And so that's what I'm looking forward to.
Well, that is wonderful, and that really is a happy note to end this on. So thank you very much, Representative. Happy birthday to you.
Well, thank you.
29 again, I'm sure.
Birthdays, at Christmas time are really interesting.
Yes, happy birthday.
Yes. I remember the year that I got new boots. I got one for my birthday, and I got the matching boot for Christmas. My mother thought she was the funniest person alive to do that.
That is impressive. Actually, I will remember that if I ever have children that close to Christmas. So, well, happy birthday, Representative.
Thank you.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
And Merry Christmas to everybody in House District 32, Senate District 16,
yes,
and everywhere that is listening to us tonight.
Yes.
Have a wonderful time. Wonderful.
Thank you. You too.
Wonderful holiday season, everyone.
Thank you.